Have you ever eaten something healthy, only to find out it was hurting you? For many older adults, fruits are seen as the safest go-to snack. They're sweet, natural, and packed with nutrients. But what most people don't realize is that not all fruits are created equal when it comes to senior health. In fact, certain fruits can interact with common medications, spike your blood sugar, or trigger problems with your heart, kidneys, or digestion, especially as your body changes with age. In this video, we're going to uncover 6 fruits that doctors say can be surprisingly dangerous for older adults. And this isn't about scaring you away from fruit altogether. It's about helping you make smarter, safer choices that protect your health without giving up flavor or enjoyment. Each of these fruits has been flagged by medical professionals for very specific reasons. And chances are, at least one of them is sitting in your kitchen right now. Danger 1. Grapefruit and medication interference. It may surprise you, but one of the most dangerous fruits for older adults is one that's often marketed as heart-healthy grapefruit. Grapefruit contains a group of natural compounds called furanocoumarins. While that may sound like scientific jargon, the effect they have on the body is very real. They interfere with the enzymes in your gut that help break down certain medications. This interference can lead to dangerously high levels of those drugs in your bloodstream, even if you're taking the correct dose. For seniors taking medication for high blood pressure, high cholesterol, anxiety, irregular heartbeat, or even certain pain relievers, this interaction can be especially harmful. What starts out as a glass of fresh juice in the morning could quietly raise your risk of dizziness, muscle breakdown, liver toxicity, or internal bleeding, without you having any idea that grapefruit was to blame. The problem here isn't the fruit itself, it's the way it alters how your body processes medicine. And unlike some food interactions that go away quickly, the effects of grapefruit can last up to 72 hours. That means even if you take your pill hours after eating grapefruit, the risk is still there. Many seniors don't find this out until it's too late, until they're rushed to the hospital with side effects that seem to come out of nowhere. They'll say, "But I've been taking this medicine for years." And they have, but adding grapefruit to the mix changes the equation. Let me give you an example. There was a man named Charles, 81 years old, who had been on a statin to manage his cholesterol. His daughter started buying him grapefruit juice, thinking it would help with weight loss and digestion. Within weeks, he began experiencing severe muscle cramps and fatigue. His doctor eventually made the connection. Grapefruit had amplified the medication in his system. Once he stopped drinking it, his symptoms faded. This kind of reaction isn't rare. It's common enough that most pharmacists now place a warning label directly on the prescription bottle. But not everyone sees it or understands the seriousness behind it. So what should you do? Check with your doctor or pharmacist before eating grapefruit or drinking its juice, especially if you take medication regularly. There are often safer alternatives like oranges or berries that won't interfere with your treatments. Because at this stage in life, staying well isn't just about what you eat, it's also about how that food fits into the bigger picture of your health. And grapefruit, while refreshing, might not be worth the risk. Danger 2. Bananas and kidney health. Bananas are often seen as the perfect snack, portable, filling, and packed with potassium. But for many seniors, especially those dealing with kidney issues, this simple fruit can quietly cause real harm. As we get older, our kidneys don't always function as efficiently as they used to. And when your kidneys begin to slow down, they have a harder time filtering out excess potassium from your bloodstream. That's where the problem begins. A single banana contains a significant amount of potassium. For most healthy adults, that's a good thing. It supports muscle function, heart rhythm, and fluid balance. But for seniors with chronic kidney disease or even mild kidney impairment, too much potassium can quickly become dangerous. It can cause something called hyperkalemia, which is a medical term for high potassium levels in the blood. And while that might sound minor, its effects are far from it. Hyperkalemia can lead to irregular heartbeats, muscle weakness, nausea, and, in severe cases, even sudden cardiac arrest. And because the symptoms often develop slowly, many people don't realize they're in danger until their heart rhythm starts to change. The challenge is that bananas are so commonly recommended for things like cramps or low energy that many seniors don't realize they could be doing more harm than good, especially if they've never been warned about potassium intake. It's not uncommon to hear someone say, but I only eat one banana a day. And for someone with perfect kidney function, that may be fine. But for someone whose kidneys are slowing down with age or illness, that one banana could be too much. Let me tell you about Helen, age 75. She had been feeling fatigued and dizzy for weeks. She was eating well, staying hydrated, and taking all her medications as prescribed. But her lab results showed elevated potassium, and her doctor immediately asked if she was eating bananas. Turns out, she'd been having one every morning with breakfast, assuming it was helping her stay healthy. When she cut back and started incorporating lower potassium fruits like apples and grapes instead, her energy began to return. So, what can you do if you're concerned? If you have any history of kidney issues, or if you take medications for high blood pressure or heart disease that affect potassium levels, it's worth asking your doctor about your potassium needs. You might not need to give up bananas entirely, but you may need to limit how often you eat them or how ripe they are, since riper bananas tend to contain even more potassium. And if you're someone who's never had your kidney function tested, this is a good time to ask about it. It's a simple blood test, and it can give you peace of mind about the foods you're eating every day. Because in this chapter of life, the goal isn't just to eat what tastes good, it's to eat what supports the systems in your body that are working hard to keep you steady. Danger 3. Cherries and blood sugar spikes. Cherries are one of those fruits that feel like a treat. They're sweet, juicy, and often enjoyed fresh in the summer or as part of a dessert. But for older adults, especially those managing diabetes or prediabetes, they can pose a hidden danger. What makes cherries tricky is that they contain more sugar than many people realize. A small bowl may not look like much, but it can pack a serious punch to your blood sugar levels. And because cherries are bite-sized and easy to eat by the handful, it's not unusual to consume a lot more than you intended, without even noticing. Unlike processed sweets, cherries come with a health halo. They're natural after all. But the body doesn't care whether sugar comes from candy or fruit. For someone with impaired glucose control, it still spikes your blood sugar. And those constant spikes, especially when they go unmonitored, can silently damage blood vessels, nerves, and eyesight over time. The danger is subtle. You might feel fine after eating them. But if your blood sugar climbs and stays elevated for hours, it can lead to brain fog, fatigue, and over the long term, more serious complications like kidney damage or vision problems. Now, that's not to say all seniors need to avoid cherries. But if you've been told you have elevated A1C levels, or if you're managing type 2 diabetes, you need to be mindful. And that goes double if you're eating cherries in canned syrup or as part of processed snacks, because in that form, the sugar content is even higher and the fiber that slows digestion is long gone. Let me share a story about Robert, age 68. After his retirement, he started spending more time at home, snacking throughout the day. He swapped cookies for fresh cherries, thinking it was a healthier option. But during his next checkup, his doctor noticed his blood sugar had crept up higher than expected. When they looked at his food journal, it turned out he was eating over a cup of cherries daily, more than enough to send his numbers soaring. Once he cut back and balanced his meals with protein and healthy fats, his energy improved, and so did his blood sugar. This is a good reminder that even healthy foods can become unhealthy when portion sizes go unchecked or when we don't consider how they interact with the rest of our meals. So if you love cherries but you're keeping an eye on your blood sugar, try having a small portion alongside a protein, like a few almonds or a slice of cheese. That combination helps slow the absorption of sugar and keeps your energy steady. Being proactive with your food choices doesn't mean you have to give up everything you enjoy. It just means being thoughtful, knowing what your body needs, what it struggles with, and how even sweet little fruits can affect the bigger picture. Because caring for your health isn't just about avoiding junk food. It's about knowing how every bite, even a cherry, can move you towards strength or struggle. Danger 4. Pineapple and digestive irritation. Pineapple is one of those fruits that seems like it should be a tropical health miracle. It's bright, juicy, and packed with vitamin C. But for many older adults, especially those with sensitive stomachs, it can be more trouble than it's worth. What makes pineapple a concern isn't just its acidity, though that's certainly part of it. The real issue lies in an enzyme called bromelain. This natural enzyme helps break down protein, which sounds like a good thing until it starts breaking down the lining of your already delicate digestive tract. If you've ever eaten fresh pineapple and noticed a burning or tingling in your mouth or throat afterward, that's the bromelain at work. Now imagine that same enzyme irritating the lining of your esophagus or stomach, especially if you already deal with acid reflux, gastritis, or ulcers. It's a recipe for discomfort, or worse. And it's not just a matter of feeling a little heartburn after dinner. For seniors with a history of GERD or hiatal hernia, the acidity and enzyme activity in pineapple can trigger prolonged episodes of inflammation. Over time, repeated irritation can even lead to more serious conditions like esophageal damage or internal bleeding, especially in those who are also taking blood-thinning medications. Let me tell you about Edith, age 72. She loved putting pineapple in her morning smoothie, said it gave her a nice tangy kick. But after a few months, she started experiencing persistent bloating, burping, and upper chest discomfort. Her doctor eventually suggested cutting acidic fruits for a few weeks. Once she stopped the pineapple, the symptoms nearly disappeared. It's not that pineapple is a villain. For people with strong digestion and no history of reflux, it can be a refreshing and beneficial choice. But as we age, the stomach's protective lining becomes more vulnerable, and even foods that were once easy to tolerate can become problematic. So what can you do if you love pineapple but tend to get digestive flare-ups? Try switching to lower acid fruits like ripe melon, papaya, or bananas, assuming your potassium levels are normal. You can also try cooking the pineapple slightly or pairing it with yogurt to reduce its enzymatic effects. And always pay attention to how your body responds. A little discomfort now might be a sign of a bigger issue down the line. You've spent a lifetime listening to the needs of others. This is the time to listen to the needs of your own body, even when it comes to something as innocent-looking as a few chunks of fruit. Danger 5. Dried fruits and hidden sugar overload. There's something comforting about a handful of dried fruit. It feels wholesome, natural, like you're grabbing a quick snack that's better than chips or cookies. But for seniors trying to manage their blood sugar, weight, or even dental health, dried fruits can be a hidden trap. The trouble with dried fruits is that they're incredibly concentrated. When fruit is dried, all the water is removed, but the sugar remains. That means just a few bites can contain the same amount of sugar as an entire piece of fresh fruit, or sometimes more. Take raisins, for example. A small box can contain over 25 grams of sugar. That's more than many candy bars. And because they're tiny and chewable, it's easy to eat double or triple that amount in just a few minutes, especially if you're snacking while watching television or chatting on the phone. Now, imagine that same sugar surge happening in your bloodstream. For older adults, especially those managing insulin resistance or prediabetes, these spikes can be damaging. Your body may not respond as efficiently to the sugar, causing it to linger in your system longer, leading to fatigue, irritability, and long-term complications if it happens regularly. And the problems don't stop at blood sugar. Dried fruits can also stick to your teeth. Their chewy texture gets trapped in crevices, feeding bacteria and increasing the risk of cavities or gum disease. For seniors with dental implants or sensitive gums, this creates the perfect storm. Let's talk about Dorothy, 79. She loved snacking on dried apricots, said they were her healthy treat. But she couldn't figure out why her blood sugar was creeping up, even though she was staying away from cookies and soda. Her doctor had her track her meals, and that's when they realized the dried fruit was adding more sugar to her day than dessert ever had. Once she switched to fresh alternatives like sliced peaches or pear, her numbers started to stabilize, and she didn't feel like she was crashing mid-afternoon anymore. Another issue with dried fruit: many packaged versions are coated in additional sugar or syrup for flavor and shelf life. Even healthy-looking brands can contain additives that make things worse: preservatives, sulfites, or extra sweeteners that your body doesn't need. Now, this doesn't mean you can never eat dried fruit again, but treat it like candy. Know what a reasonable portion looks like. Pair it with a protein or fiber source like a few walnuts or a piece of string cheese to slow the sugar absorption. And always check the label for added sugars. If sugar is one of the first ingredients, it's not just fruit anymore, it's dessert. When you're trying to eat well, it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking natural, equals safe. But your body cares more about impact than intention. And dried fruit, while natural, can pack a punch that's far too strong for many older adults to handle regularly. So take a second look at that trail mix or that jar of dates in the pantry. They might be doing more harm than good, especially if they're part of your daily routine. The key isn't fear, it's awareness. Because when you know what to watch for, you can still enjoy the foods you love without letting them take a toll on your health. Danger 6. Unripe persimmons and intestinal blockage. Now here's a fruit most people never think twice about: persimmons. Soft, orange, and sweet when fully ripe. But when eaten too early, especially in large amounts, they can turn from a gentle snack into a serious digestive hazard. And for older adults, that risk is even higher. The trouble lies in a compound called tannin, which is especially concentrated in unripe persimmons. Tannins give the fruit its mouth-drying, bitter taste when it's not ready to eat. But inside the stomach, those tannins can bind together with stomach acid and other contents to form a hard mass called a bezoar. Yes, that's a real medical term. And while it sounds odd, it's no joke. Bezoars can grow large enough to block your intestines. They're hard, sticky, and don't pass easily, sometimes requiring surgery to remove. And seniors, especially those with slower digestion, dentures, or a history of stomach surgeries, are at higher risk of developing them. This is one of those health issues that most people never hear about until it happens. You might just feel bloated or nauseous at first, but over time, the blockage worsens. You can't eat without pain. You feel full after just a few bites. You might even start losing weight without trying. And unless a doctor connects the dots and asks about your diet, the cause stays hidden. I once heard about a man named Walter, 82, who was admitted to the hospital with severe abdominal discomfort. His appetite had vanished, and he hadn't had a proper bowel movement in days. After scans and tests, doctors found a bezoar lodged in his stomach. When they asked about his eating habits, he mentioned that he loved persimmons, especially the firm, crisp kind. He had no idea they needed to be fully ripened or eaten sparingly. After treatment, he recovered, but he told his family he'd never touch one again. Now, this doesn't mean persimmons are bad. In fact, when they're fully ripe and soft, almost jelly-like in texture, they can be delicious and safe. The issue arises when people eat them before they're ready, or consume them in large quantities, and especially on an empty stomach. So what can you do? First, if you're going to eat persimmons, make sure they're soft and fully ripe. They should feel like a water balloon in your hand, not firm like an apple. Second, limit how many you eat in one sitting. A small portion, eaten slowly and with other foods, is much easier on your system. And if you've ever had digestive slowdowns, talk to your doctor before adding them to your diet. Sometimes the most dangerous foods are the ones we assume are harmless. And unripe persimmons, with their mild flavor and lovely appearance, can easily fool you. But when you know the risks, you have the power to make better choices, ones that honor your body's needs and protect your well-being. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 6 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now let's move forward. Final thoughts. So now that we've walked through these 6 fruits, each one with its own hidden risks, take a moment to ask yourself, how many of these are sitting in your kitchen right now or have become part of your regular routine simply because they've always seemed healthy? This isn't about fear, it's about awareness. Because the truth is, your body at 65, 75, or 85 doesn't process food the same way it did at 40. The systems that once handled sugar, acid, potassium, or medication interactions without trouble might now need a little extra care and a little less guesswork. That doesn't mean giving up everything you enjoy. It means taking a second look, checking labels, asking your doctor or pharmacist a few more questions, and choosing the options that help you feel clearer, lighter, and more in control, not just today, but in the long run. Think of each food choice as a conversation with your body. When you choose what works for your current health, you're saying, I'm still listening. I still care. That kind of self-respect, that kind of thoughtful decision-making is one of the most powerful things you can carry with you into this chapter of life. So, which one of these fruits surprised you the most? Was it the bananas and potassium? The grapefruit and medications? Or maybe the dried fruits and blood sugar spikes? Thank you for joining us today. We'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below and share one thing you learned today and how you plan to use it in your life. Your thoughts are important to us, so don't hesitate to share them. Reading your comments gives us great motivation and encouragement. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Thanks for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.